Welcome to Tanks Invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professional development. As a recording time of exactly 5 p.m. on Eastern Time, Ethereum currently $3,725, down about 1.85% so far. As you can see clearly on the overall crypto market, is relatively down to red at the moment, besides some selective altcoins that are surging a little bit more prominent than others, right? Algorand is currently up about close to 9%, while Polygon on MacTax also up about close to 2% so far. And on a post-market perspective, we just closed the market about 1 hour ago. On the equity side, Dow Jones is currently down about 0.01%, Nasdaq's down about 0.10%, S&P 500 is also down 0.01% respectively. And obviously today we had a relatively volatile day all over again, right? On a pre-market perspective, we saw some signs of recovery earlier today. On the equity side specifically, knowing the fact that we have had basically 4 to 5 days of consecutive rally, from the Santa Claus rally, the New Year's Eve rally, if you can even call it, it's basically a euphemism for hedge funds to, do some sort of a window dressing, right, to beef up their profit or their return on investments to, show their investors how well they've done that year on an average perspective, right? It's more just like again, dress up the numbers to make it look better, right? With respect to the 4 to 5 days of consecutive surge already, today is and yesterday as well, we have already seen some sort of a normalization, right? Just to cool back down as people are taking profits for various different reasons, right? And I think some of the reasons are cultivated around maybe capital gains tax that we have to be paying, tax write-off. Some people might even have to wipe out their leverage. And also, obviously, with the key macro catalyst that's been just jerking the market left and right, would be the Omicron news, right? And the timing is quite interesting again. On the aftermarket perspective, about 45 minutes ago, we are seeing another COVID-related news. So this is another ominous one. So I want to just quite quickly come back onto the camera to talk about what's going on. Why are we seeing more sell-off, right? It seems like we were just like cool as a cucumber, kind of reviving as we hit the golden hour, like the 3 p.m. on the Eastern time, and subsequently revive back above the 3,750. It seems like we're sliding off right now. And I was checking across the news. Seems like we're hearing from Dr. Fauci again, alongside with the support from Joe Biden. It seems like on the statistical front, the U.S. COVID cases is rising to the pandemic level. So it seems like we're going to all-time high all over again. And this time, in terms of calculating the numbers, the statistics is calculate both the Delta variants and also with respect to the Omicron variants. It seems like they're circulating and surging at the same time. Okay, so seems like, historically we've learned that the Delta was kind of subsiding a little bit, the Omicron is spiking obviously, but in terms of the effect that it has on human body, we thought that Omicron was, probably a little bit less, how would you say, invasive. It's probably not as detrimental to your health in comparisons to Delta. Obviously, both are detrimental, but one is a lot worse than other in terms of severity and in terms of the medical remedy for the efficacies of the vaccination, right? And Dr. Fauci also said that in the CNBC interview, he predicts that the Omicron COVID wave will peak sometimes in the end of January, right? So right now we're at the end of December. So does that mean that we have another 1 month of frustration and fear mongering? And I feel like this is more of a lingering news. It seems like end of this January is like another. I mean, it's an interesting timeline. It's an interesting time frame that Dr. Fauci predicts, right? But what statistical support or evidentiary support does he have? How does he know that 1 month is good enough to contain? I think the timing might be a little bit off, right? Because of the fact that just like when I was like going out earlier today, I went out to the city to grab sushi. I just want to spend a day by myself, just like kind of chill and walk around in the city as well. And as on my way home, I saw there were multiple vaccination centers that are stationed on the streets across New York, in both Manhattan and also in the borough of Queens as well. And I just saw huge lines of COVID testing centers or vaccination centers or trucks. And it seems like there's a huge shortage of professionals that are, or medical professionals that are supporting these initiatives, right? I think that's just a lack of manpower to be supporting, the millions of people that needs the vaccinations in the U.S., right? And I'm just speaking on behalf of New York, right? And the $500 million of the deployment that Joe Biden has put in for obviously the vaccinations and the COVID aids, it doesn't initialize until like 1 month from now, right? Obviously, if you could think that might be a miss on Joe Biden's part in terms of not being proactive, right? And I could kind of understand. Like, I watched this David Muir. He's an ABC reporter, and he basically grilled Joe Biden for like an hour straight, asking really, really hard questions at Joe Biden. He asked this question specifically, like, do you think with his presidency for about basically a year so far, um, uh, what has he done that is truly reactive or proactive, right? And it seems like all the moves that he has been doing has been mostly just reacting. Like, he's not really getting a hold of things or controlling the COVID cases in a way that is strategic. He's been just kind of taking punches left and right, but is he really punching back at this COVID variants? It seems like not really. So obviously, it's definitely disappointment, and media expectations gotta spin out of control. But I don't really, how would you say? Um, it is what it is, right? I think Joe or Mr. Biden, he's doing his best to control it. He's also learning the ropes, I guess. Uh, so sometimes things are out of his control, and I think we are um, in that stage right now, which also gives another incentives to the media publication companies to spin things at an even worse proportion than it really is, right? But if you look at it just based on your observation and just looking outside, like being in the city, you realize that, yeah, in a tactical perspective, we are a little bit behind in terms of like, being proactive, like I kept saying, right? So beside this obviously negative news that we're seeing some sell-off right now, I also see some other news that popped up in the last couple of hours so far. The news are not really that substantive. It doesn't really directly correlate to the translations of the price. But just talk about them one by one. So Bazinga about 36 minutes ago talked about Elon Musk explains why he prefers Dogecoin over Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, and other cryptocurrencies. Obviously, he has a personal agenda or incentive as to why, because he is adopting Dogecoin as a form of transactional payment for Tesla. And obviously, he said that he's already holding Dogecoin. He's also on the board of Dogecoin Foundation, I believe. So ultimately, it's a trivial article, so feel free to take a read. I don't know how substantive that is, but it is what it is. The next one's on Decrypt about 38 minutes ago. Talk about Sandbox COO views that Ethereum metaverse games as a digital nation. Seems like there's just more NFT or metaverse related type of commercialization, and obviously with this whole metaverse and NFT cultivation is all stemmed from the Ethereum proposition, right? So he's basically talking about the future of metaverse, right? Where do we see the world going from here? Are we gonna live in some sort of a simulation going forward? So if we were to take a read, is his perspective is another trivial one. And then the last one that I see that's quite another one, NFT related, is a Bored Ape Yachts Club NFT sold for 140 Ethereum today. It's a picture of a monkey, but his eyeballs kind of popped out with like rainbow color hair for some reason. He's like wearing a blue hat. I guess so. The last one is talk about unbalance. About 6 hours ago, talk about Bitcoin trades below 48,000. Are we gonna be in for a crash coming? Obviously, it's a technical article, so we'll just dive right into the technicals without listening to this noise, if you may. So we talked about the news already, so we know why we're triangulating into the level that we're at right now. So at the moment, as a recording of 5:11 p.m. on the Eastern time, Ethereum is basically hovering above this 3,650, right, which is the level of the next consolidation level. We're basically like $100 away. We are at the 30 out of 70, so we're pretty much oversold at the moment. We just formed a death cross, so that means we might see a little bit more sell-off again, right? 3,650, which we got to approximately just like $40 above it today, but immediately people got bought up. And I think that's pretty much the bottom. I don't really think we will go all the way down to like the 3,150 or 3,475. I think that's a relatively big drop, and you know that's a big drop that we have. We're basically levitating at the moment. But we know that we're oversold, so it kind of net cancels each other out. So is that true? So I don't foresee it's going to be a full-on crash despite the large separations of resistance levels. So incurring risk right now is actually not a terrible idea in terms of risk mitigation perspective. Definitely much better compared to when we were like hitting all-time high at the 48.71, right? Bitcoin is just a hair below 47,900. We're basically $100 away. So right now we're contemplating to go back down to the 45. Right now we're the 39.50 out of 70. So we know what that means, right? We're basically at the upper echelon of the oversold. Not completely oversold yet, but I think as we go down to like the 45, we'll be oversold. And as we even have the probability of even going to the 44, it will be extremely oversold. And by then, we'll completely have to reverse back up from there. Because by then, you'll be drilling oil. And when you get into so deep, people are going to be incentivized to buy in, right? Unless corporations start selling. But I don't think, corporations are incentivized to sell at these levels, knowing the fact that we're relatively depleted. Well, they do want us to think that we are, because that way it could drive more fear mongering, so they could get in and scoop in, and the recovery will be so sharp that it'll be a blink of an eye. It will be looking something very comparable to like this, like a flash crash, if you may, right? Dogecoin anywhere from the 16 cents all the way to below to 15. Right now the 41 out of 70, so not the best, not the worst, right? So Dogecoin is okay. Cardano is at the 135 at the moment. It's contemplating do we go up to go back to 145 or go back down to 120. It's not the best, not the worst again, right? But anywhere in between the 135 to 120 is still a good level to incur risk. Solana, I think as we go down further, we'll be going to the 155, 133 to 113 from here. XRP is 82 right now. We are basically leaping down to 78. As we go to 78, we're going to be hitting the 35 out of 70. So I think 78 is actually a good level to encourage. So I'll actually place my place order in if you are looking into XRP at the moment. Polkadot is down about 3%. Anywhere from 25 to below would be still a good level to incur risk. Algorand's up about 8%. Is basically doing something completely opposite. We're at the 53 out of 70, so I would not touch this at all. Again, anywhere from 135 to below would still be a better level. This is mainly driven by its own micro affectation, not macroly driven, obviously, because the whole market is down and this is going up. And I don't think this will be long lasting because we're relatively overbought right now. So if you chase in now, it will be not the most logical decision. Shiba Inu anywhere from 2,900 to below would still be a good level. Right now, I wouldn't really touch it. Not yet, at least. MACTAG is up about 1%. Still overbought at 56 out of 70, curving down right now. So the propensity or the probability of actually going back down is higher than staying up. So again, as we go down to $2, as we break $2, we'll go to 175 to 143. AVAX down about 1.2% at the moment. 81 to 60 is still better level for us. Luna or Terra is going to be in for a -1. Really bloody one, I would say. You can see clearly we're overbought. Death cross coming. We're gonna sell down to firstly the 75, 62, 52 to 45 from here. And with respect to Enron, we're pretty much depleted at the moment. If you look on the scale, we're basically somewhere around like the 38-ish. So yeah, I think we're pretty much there at the bottom, at least on the attractive level. We're not steal yet, right? But it's definitely a good level, knowing the fact that we're basically at a relatively consolidated level at the moment. So with respect to risk management level on these respective cryptocurrencies, these are levels that I have identified here. Made some tweaks here and there as I got home. And these are really for my references only, right? I'm ultimately more of a conservative investor as I'm investing, right? My appetites and my methodology is more of a long-term hold, right? Definitely do not let the short-term volatility shake you off or scare you, right? The technicals tells us that is a good buying opportunity at the moment, right? So that's why I take the logical move from there, right? And with respect to Enron, you could see clearly we are pretty much there in terms of depletion, right? We are at the attractive level already, so incurring some minimal risk, right? Not too much would be an ideal and a logical thing to do, right? So appreciate you for joining me on this Wednesday again. Definitely volatile couple of days so far, but you know, ultimately this is a game of emotional roller coaster, and for those actually can hold on tight and can mute out all the BS and stay logical, use your technical analysis, look at into the quants, will win over time, right? Patience will always pay off, right? So appreciate you. Let me know if you have any questions and stay tuned for the call. Take care. Bye.